need to look at this much more closely.
So one of the things he said was, I'm sorry, I raised my hand. One of the, like I raised my hand. So one of the things he said during our board meetings was, well, he didn't say it during our board meetings, but this was a point I made, and I can pull it up in our minutes. Was he said in order to keep the pricing down, it's built on relationships that he has with his manufacturer, right? So most times they purchase everything up front, and that's how they're able to keep the pricing down. The thing that he did for us was the down payment would normally have been 10% of 5,260,000. He only asked us for 50,000 to hold everything still, so he would, would do it. I really think that
Presented as good faith.
Yeah, it was presented as good faith, and so then that negated the 30-day thing that you were reading there. But that's just
Well, we can only go by with what's written.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, and based on some email communication that you've been a part of too with Florida Specialty, I would say they're already talking around that. So I see no commitment from them at this point about that. When it gets down to, and let's just call this what it is, because we need to be able to work hardcore when it gets down. Tax and brass, I think, is a nice term for it. Whenever there's a signature and whenever there's money, anything else that has been discussed doesn't mean a darn thing. I'm being recorded on this. I'm going to watch my language.
Yeah, watch it.
So we need to be conscious of that.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. That's one thing. The other thing I need to, there's parts of this contract that I'm very, very uncomfortable with, and there's communication that we've had with Florida Specialty via email that does not make me comfortable either. But I'm just calling it out. I'm not saying that can't be repaired, because I feel like we've kind of gotten off on a bad start with them. And the bad start, to put context, is Florida Specialty, they were hoping to start this month, right, which is great. But we don't have funding. We have nothing to pay them with. So we're not even there. And they weren't real happy about that. And that's fine, but it is what it is. There was some pushback. And I didn't appreciate the pushback that we got from them. There's better ways to communicate.
They were a bit abrasive with you?
I beg your pardon?
They were a bit abrasive with you?
I didn't like the fact that someone starts communicating with legal terminology to me, because that puts my defenses up.
Right.
I have issue with that. So, again, I can prepare any business working relationship based on one criteria that we want to. And we would like to proceed. I think we do need to start over, but we don't have all the elements, and that's part of why we're meeting tonight. And I'm discussing this not for sense of gossip or anything like that. I want to continue the transparency that we've had throughout all these meetings. We need to be able to discuss the tough stuff sometimes. That stated, I understand a little bit better now, but we will not be using that contract, the contract attorney again, because this is not, none of this language should have happened. The only way that we can bridge this is what you were just referring to, was the AIA contract. The AIA contract breaks down, I'll come to you in just a second. The AIA contract, for everyone, and Lindy has a better knowledge of it than I do, but the AIA contract definitely breaks down the finance, the delivery times, every fine detail of the project, including when things get done, how they get paid, when they get paid. It sets the detailed expectation. Okay? Would you define that differently?
No, I added disputes,
Disputes.
insurance.
Okay, insurance.
Requirements,
Anything
everyone's
that
role.
needs to come into it. The nice thing, the only thing that I can see in this signed proposal that gives me some faith is that the AIA agreement, once it's signed by both parties, shall attach to this project proposal, and where applicable, shall replace any conflicting terms found in this project proposal. Thank goodness,
So
The
it
reason.
can override some of that language.
Yeah,
Right.
the part, and just so that the board knows where I'm particularly concerned, when I look at a contract, I will come to you. When I look at a contract, and I have a little bit of contract, I'm being facetious, I have a lot of contract experience in a different industry, but contracts start with one thing. You always look at the term and clause. How do I get out of this? If you're not comfortable with the term and clause, you don't get involved with that. The term and clause that I am most part of it, I'm just going to read this for everyone again because we need to be aware of this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, transparently again, someone has offered, hey, we haven't sought out another bid. Let me establish that. But it was offered to us during the town hall on September 15th. And I said, if we're going to consider anything, we need to understand what our termination clause. That's why I started looking at this a little bit differently. And that termination clause is as follows. The client may at any time terminate this agreement for the client's convenience and without cause. You always want that. What I'm not crazy about. Florida Specialty shall be entitled to receive payment for work executed and costs incurred by reason of such termination, along with reasonable overhead and profit on the work not executed. That's a problem.
Yeah, big problem.
That's a huge
That
problem.
right there is a litigation attorney's field day. That is a problem. Had I seen that, and let me make this very, very clear, no other contract associated with this project gets signed without me looking at it first and approving it. Because if I had seen that, I can assure you, it would have never been signed. I don't care what the timeline is. That, to me, is a vendor's attorney writing it.
Yeah.
I have a big issue with that. And that's a problem for us.
It's favorite to Florida,
Okay.
especially not
Who paid for that attorney?
With that,
Who paid the attorney? We did.
oh, we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did. Apparently
Well,
we did.
with his language that he wrote, and we paid this attorney to look for our best interests.
I wasn't involved with this piece of it.
Oh,
So
Who was?
if I was, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Just so you know, we did pay the attorney to look out for our best interests, but he was a new attorney, and the clause that she likes actually came between the board members at the table to protect us.
Thank you. I'm going to pause because
So-
Lydia's needed to weigh in. I would like her to do so.
I do agree that we should not use that attorney again.
And we
Because
talked about it using one with more expertise
Yeah, he is
for the
not.
AI.
but is there room
it's-
for litigation for us doing this
Alright,
because we
so
paid for this
I'm
attorney?
gonna step forward with
to-
this. Let me
Was
just,
Lydia finished?
No.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
His expertise may be contracts, but construction is a specific specialty, and people have to be familiar with all the AI contracts, not just one. There's like
perfectly stated.
50 of them.
Mhm.
So
I think you have a notebook on all of them.
I have so
Not show and tell. That's okay.
yeah, so someone that is a construction law firm is what we're looking for. A construction law attorney.
Okay.
That stated, this is where I have a problem with this. I have spoken to our community attorney about this. It concerns me. Frankly, it would be, let me word this very specifically. And I did communicate this to the previous board president. It was my recommendation that we should get out of this contract because it's like starting a marriage on a bad foot. Now, I don't know how Florida Specialty, how involved would they were writing this language, but I can tell you this benefits them a lot. And that language makes me very uncomfortable. That's a no-win clause, and that's hard, but it is what it is. That stated, I have gone back and forth, and I did have a hearty discussion with Frank, our attorney, about this. Frankly, he agreed. He said, yeah, this is not a good contract to move forward with. This is a problem. There's a couple ways through it, but one of the things we do need to consider, we can use that AIA agreement because the AIA agreement can supersede anything in this signed proposal. And that's the only way we could proceed.
I need to interject right here at this point.
Go for it.
It reads, the part, there's this, clause number 15 on that, it says, the parties agree that this project proposal shall set forth the initial key terms of this project, including the price and specific project details. All right, the parties intend to enter into an industry standard Form AIA agreement in order to further detail the legal terms of the agreement. Now, this is where this is where the problem comes in. That first part says no matter what the proposal terms and set forth is what's going to happen. The parties agree that this project proposal shall set forth the initial terms of this contract. That's up here. Then it says such AIA agreement once signed by both parties down here shall attach to this project proposal and where applicable shall replace any conflicting terms found in this project proposal. But guess what? This is where the problem is. That hasn't been signed. They don't have to sign that. We can sign it, but they don't have to sign it. And then once all of this has already been signed, all of those initial set terms, the clause that we're talking about, the profit on the work not done, is valid.
Valid or invalid?
So,
Valid.
Valid.
So our concern was, I'm so sorry.
No,
you don't have to raise your
This
hand.
is committee, not. So I'm just.
So our issue is, or the thought process is, we need to be able to back out.
Change seats. Just change seats.
We
I think
need-
those
Because initially they were acting in
core.
good faith, and the clause is in there to supersede everything that we're doing. And we stopped
That's what I'm saying. Just
because
change
we
seats.
entertained an additional bid.
No,
And so
no,
now
I beg to
so
differ.
now we're,
We did not stop
This
to
is-
entertain another bid. There was no stopping to entertain another bid. The only way we could move forward with this project was with an AIA contract, but we can't do that without funding. I don't have any information about anything that's been entertained with the banks. I don't have any information about what has been entertained with the independent claim adjuster that has reviewed that. Apparently there was another contract signed with an independent claims adjuster. So I don't have that. I know there was a meeting. I didn't attend that meeting, but I did follow the recording of that meeting. So there are other financial pieces we need in order to move. So let me establish this very clearly. Nothing was halted to entertain another bid. There was no bid asked for. A bid was offered to us. Do I make myself clear?
yeah, I hear you.
Mm.
What you're saying?
But there was nothing
But I am
stopped.
saying, when you're talking to banks, let me just clarify some things. Banks have a lot of items on their applications. One of the things they ask is, who voted for, who's your contractor? Let's keep it simple. They'll ask you who your contractor is. They'll ask you how long the warranty is in the contract. They'll look through the contract, they'll look through the number of board members you have, and they go, who voted on the approval for this to be signed? So they ask for all of that in the interim. They go just like they do behind the scenes on your regular mortgage. The underwriter goes through, asking different questions. What's on the property? What's the property look like? Just your mundane things like that.
Right.
When you get into a process with a bank, they'll tell you that the turnaround time is maybe 30 days. And so when we got into this project, we were there. They have all of our information. I was working with the past president. There was bank, and I know that this was discussed. There was Bank OZK, there was Synovus, there was Valley, there was Bank United, and there was one other bank I can't think of right now. The longer you take, they fall off the wayside. So you have to
where are we
keep,
with
so
those
you have to
banks?
keep waking them up. Where we are now is everybody has our paperwork. They're waiting on us.
Okay, so.
And I can't really say what we're gonna do because in my mind, I'm not
Okay.
putting this on all of you, but in my mind, we virtually started over.
That was.
In my, yeah, no, this is my opinion. In my mind, we've started over because you
There was
had a
nothing started
contractor.
up.
You
there was
had a
nothing started
contractor,
up.
you had an amount, we went through all of the materials, we took care of all of that. So we were at the point where the good faith has kept our things as balanced as we needed them to be for us to step into it and move forward.
When did you give that information to the previous president?
When did I give which information? This
The
has been
state
going all the way
allocations.
through. That's why I sent you minutes. This has been going all the way through. Did I send
When
you minutes?
were-
Did I copy you? I'll go back through and I'll copy. I'll send you what I sent them if you were not copied on that.
Let me establish,
Mm-hmm.
and Lisa, the previous board, and I spoke.
Now
with
you and I have
specifically.
spoken that we want to put them together and have comparisons so you can see their
Yes.
rates
That's
and
not
you can
stopping
see
the
other
project.
stuff that they're.
So let's
yeah.
establish, the project never stopped. There was no reason to halt that. The last you and I spoke, one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
was, let's see the applications, let's review that information. I haven't seen that. So, I
I
never.
actually did send the applications out, all 4 of them, or all 4 or 5 of them. They're empty, they're not filled out,
Okay,
but
well,
they're,
that
but this
means-
is like the kind of
Okay.
information that I,
So-
so yeah, I'll be able to pick that up and resend it.
there
So
we
you
go.
can see it back in like September sometime.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
then I kept asking for who's
Who needs
available
to
to
see
make,
that?
who needs to see it, who needs to do application
And
signatures.
who is that? You're on the
Anybody
board.
on the bank actually could sign, but I presented it to the president.
Okay, so who on the board needed to see that?
Treasurer,
Well-
secretary.
The whole board should be privy to
Yeah.
it. So,
Okay, was this presented to the board?
I would say the roofing committee over everybody. But I kind of think I sent it even, let me just check.
Okay, so
The
all right,
roofing committee can't make decisions.
Yeah.
We
Well, this is
give
a finance part of
recommendations
it,
to the
so,
board,
yeah.
but then the board has
Yeah.
to make the decision. But the recommendations that we give are overridden because you guys are not listening to us.
well, okay, let's establish where we are with that. What we need to, right now, is, let's be very clear, and please just, if I am not speaking accurately, correct me. I'm fine with that, I'm not gonna take it personally. But what I need to understand, one of the main reasons we're meeting this evening is because I need to know from the board who has access to the banks and the applications that Temper has reviewed. What is the status? What are the next steps? So we need to understand that because we can't move forward without that information. So that's where we are with that. I mean, that makes sense. Does anyone have a question about that?
I do,
Please.
it's more of a request, can the information, like all information I asked for, be put in a shared folder where the entire board can be previewed to the information?
We can put it in Google Docs with all the other briefing information.
Okay.
All right, with that, so
And you'll be
I
sending it back out, so it just refreshes us again as to where we are.
But was the question?
understand, I'm sorry.
Was the question, your question that you had, was it answered?
Yeah.
As far as the board,
Mhm.
who had the information on the board?
Tempra has it. So
Well,
At
I
this
have
point,
it, the president
and
had
you
it. I think I
are-
sent it to the roofing committee, but I'll double check,
so
just to make sure.
let's establish. So the previous board president, who's not in attendance this evening, if they received that, what I'm hearing is this was not discussed further with the board. Is that, I'm not on the board, so can the board respond to that?
The last I heard with the loans was that we couldn't get one unless we had a reserve study. That's the last I heard about the loans.
I didn't hear that we could get one without a reserve study. They would ask about our reserve study. I told them that the last one was 2021. There was no mandatory call for it from the underwriters yet. So it's kind of tabled until they decide if they really need one in the face of us getting the rules. If they do a reserve study now, they're gonna be doing a study on 45, 46-year-olds. And it's still not gonna be the value that needs to be there to go in our budget from 2025 moving forward.
Goes back to what, I guess what we had said yesterday and had said previously about reserve study coming after
After the.
rules are installed.
The only information I have regarding banking information as far as emails go is an email on September 11th with a banking update. And that included 5 banks that were being looked at.
Yeah.
And that's all, and all of the board was included, all of the 24 board was included on that update. So it was on Monday, September 9th at 7:38 p.m. was when the original email was sent, listing the 5 banks, and then it said more to follow after all the applications, documents, supplied, and comparison by the roofing committee. Temper and Angela had a few responses on it, and that's all that I see regards
But
to
you're
that.
forwarding back out with the new numbers.
Yeah.
So where we are now, and let me be clear, this is not just to pick on who's done what or not done what. What we need is action on that. It needs to be, those applications need to be reviewed. We need to understand where we are with that in order to move forward. Because we can't proceed with this project without that. That's one action item. Next, so the next thing I want to inquire about, where I'm quite a bit in the dark about, is there was also, I understand there was, and I only know this verbally, I can't validate this, but I also understand that an independent claims adjustment company has been contracted with, and the second to the last board meeting, a representative of that independent claims adjustment company and the associated attorney's firm representative attended a meeting. I did not attend the meeting, but I did listen to the recording several times. And from what I understand, an assessment of the roofs has been completed. We do not know, of course, if there are claims, but based from what I heard, what I gathered from that meeting, is that there is an expectation that claims would be submitted to the previous insurance company for this community, and I had to read between the lines because the way I heard that conversation going, they were elusive at best, which is typical in those situations. They couldn't or would not provide an exact amount of what the claims are, and that's not unusual because that usually has to be reviewed and agreed, disagreed on, argued, depending on what the insurance company has said. I don't know what engagement the insurance company has had at this point, but what I can look into that, and I'm gonna need some feedback here, is if an attorney's firm is stating that there will be some potentially mediation or potential mediation over this, and the expectation, I believe, was sometime next year, late summer of next year, if I recall correctly. So based on what I'm hearing or what I heard on that meeting, was that there is a significant number of claims, or else an attorney group certainly wouldn't have been contracted. I also understood and understand that they work on a contingency. They're not sticking this out unless they have some expectation that they're gonna be making some money on this.
Right, and that's where I think I can ask, so what's in it for you? More or
Yeah.
less, and it was
Contingency.
Lawyer's response, which is a lot of nothing, so, not to offend anybody, but that's how they responded.
They did. So can anyone provide information on that?
You get-
Just a little bit, and based on the meeting where they did attend, basically the lawyers could not say a whole lot because
They
We
chose
are-
not to.
we are their clients, right? But Vista is not their client, and our current insurer is not their client. So, or our current insurance agent is not their client. So they can't say, "Oh, you're definitely getting this," and then
Oh, they can't
chatter
say that at all.
starts. Yeah,
No, that I
chatter starts,
understand.
and then things blow up, and then everything is perceived the wrong way. So that's why we kind of refrain from putting everything out on the table and saying how much you're gonna get. They didn't even tell me anything about it.
I would say
But-
they're not gonna say that in general because they would never put themselves in a position
Right.
to say, hey, we're expecting $2.2 million in claims, and if they don't get that, there are problems. I'm gonna pause there for a second. Mona, your hand is up. Sorry. Thank you, Stephen. What did you want to share, Mona?
Thank you for giving me the word. So, I listened to that particular meeting myself as well, and I found it very scary that they were not able, that there is, again, no contract, the same as with the.
Well, there was a contract.
We didn't see it.
Okay, Lisa signed a contract for the independent
Right.
claims adjuster, correct?
There was an agreement, yes, there was a contract signed, and it specifically outlined that there was absolutely no cost to us unless they recovered.
It's a contingency.
funds, yeah.
Right. Do we, does anyone have this
I
contract?
think I do, I can forward you that too.
Yeah, well, when I say we didn't see it, we didn't see the agreement the lawyer had with Five Stars at their name.
Yep, it's
Okay.
5-star.
Five
But
Stars.
here's the issue, right? I understand there's no outlay to us, which is fine. That's the way these companies work, that
Right.
there's no. But here's the scary part. So there should be some sort of an agreement initially of we recover this, you get this. And this was again not, there was
Clear.
no kind of agreement of how much of a profit they're going to be making off us. There should be right away when this starts, there should be an agreement of how much money the lawyer will make, the percentage, and how
Oh, sure.
much of
That's in the
we will be.
It has to
Yeah,
be
we
in the
need
contract.
Yeah, we need to see that contract. Agreed, Mona. I think the board should definitely, the board definitely needs to be very knowledgeable
Privy to
about
this,
that.
yeah.
I mean, let's get that out. So if that can be provided, or if that would be provided sooner rather than later, I think we need to understand that. I'm gonna take that. Did you want to add anything else before I over talk you again?
They are, when they're not making any money on this, we make the money. They have, what, 30 years of experience, or 15, he said, doing that. The lawyers that they brought is their team, so they worked with this lawyer on previous claims to win, so they worked
Oh, I'm
well
sure
with
they
them.
did.
So that's why they brought them along to fill in the community, whoever was left sitting there. I think 3 of you were there. and so that, to me, didn't seem scary. I think she withheld information to Vista. That's what she did, because this was asking questions, and normally they do not work with the management company, they work with the board. The board is their client, so that's why she was withholding management to Vista, and Vista did not like that. I don't care if Vista didn't like it, honestly, because
Well, I don't like it.
because we've had the same we've had them and the same insurance agent for 10 years or more, and we are in this pickle. So that's why we went outside of them.
Okay.
I understood that as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mona?
But the bottom line is again, let's say we make $1 million. If they keep 90% and we keep them because they're explaining, okay, we had all these expenses, at the bottom line you get 10%, 100,000 doesn't get us very far. So it's a direct number of a percentage of what we can hope for.
Again,
Here you go.
Again, they said,
I think it's in your email.
again, they said if it wasn't worth them pursuing, because they don't work with small communities. They don't do one-offs.
Well, it's gotta be a standard thing, like they're
Yeah,
gonna take
I mean,
34%, or, you know,
Yeah, you're
there's
gonna
gotta
see-
be a percentage, but if
So
nobody's seen the
Yeah.
I'm
contract.
just gonna resend it.
Yeah, do I need to copy everybody? It was big.
Because all I need, if you send it, what I'll do is just put it in the Google Docs. Everyone has access to that. I'll make sure you have
The
new
Island
links
Code
to that.
328, the Island Code 32808.
No, this is actually the roofing committee Google
Oh,
Docs,
okay.
where I'm keeping contracts, anything.
Okay, because we don't
proposals.
have
Yeah.
access to that.
If you don't have access, I will make sure you have it.
I'll check.
I'm gonna forward
But I will
that
make
to
sure,
Rita.
because instead of you go link hunting, I'll make it easier for you. But yes, anyone who's requested the access to that, I have been providing. But Mona, thank you. So bottom line is this, what I'm trying to get into is, let's understand what our resources are. You don't go forward in any project without understanding what your resources are. And one of our resources, and one of the key factors we're talking about this evening, is funding. What are our resources for funding? Right now, I see 2. One is me, a homeowner, you, homeowners, and potentially these claims, whatever this is. We have no idea what that could be. So it is something we need to understand, have full knowledge, and be really comfortable and discuss how and anticipate what that percentage cut would be, what that contingency share would be. Yes, Stephen?
What has happened with that, insurance, situation after that last meeting? Has the board conversed with them, or did they come to the meeting, say what they needed to say? Nobody's heard anything after that? What communication has happened after that meeting?
None of the best
From my perspective, we're waiting on some things.
They've turned in our claim to
Oh.
the other side.
Right.
So that
So
is
previous
the
insurance
insurance company?
companies?
no, our previous insurance.
Our previous
company.
insurance
Okay.
company.
They've turned that into them, and the other insurance company asked us for certain things, and we've turned that into them, like a list of things. And so with that, they were able to take those, and now they basically gotta go to, well, they can better explain it to me, maybe court or whatever it is.
It's
And
mediation.
that's what, and see how much are we willing to, are they willing to help us out with?
Can the board make a solidified contact with that and
Yeah.
find out what's going on?
No, because the insurance, so keep in mind,
And are you okay being the point person for that to send it to us?
I can send it, yeah.
yeah, because
Thank
what
you.
we should also keep in mind with insurance companies,
Let's see.
we pay the insurance company, we're their client, even though we're not a client with them currently, because this was a previous insurance company, we can call and ask. I mean,
Well, to call and ask the insurance company to me is a little redundant, because they don't wanna give us that money. Insurance will not want to give
But,
you money
okay.
for a claim, so.
I understand that, so I'm gonna look at this in a different way. If you have a claim for your home, they can give you an idea. There's a working relationship. You can have some discussion. We're not saying that they're going to say, hey, we're arguing over this or we're expecting this. We're not gonna get into that, but just to have some type of update. Where are we in the process?
I can ask the claims adjuster
Yeah,
that.
that's something we should have some idea about. Where am I going? Okay, what's your thought?
Yeah, well, no, and this may be off, because I'm also thinking,
There's no right or wrong here.
well,
Just
I'm also
help me out.
thinking, claims that are beneficial, we recoup money. How does it, looking forward, how does it impact the one we're with or will go with? Because I've heard the example, like a driving record, it's still out there.
well, it's already done. That piece is already done. The caution that what you're referring to, when it was first presented to me to entertain that was, if you look into working with an independent claims adjuster, let's be very clear about this. Independent claims adjusters, they make money based on what claims they find and what claims get paid. So they're gonna find it. We've had essentially, not 100%, but pretty close to a very claim-free history in this community. And it's in part what's probably helped us maintain some level of affordability when it comes to premiums. Could argue that statement. But once you submit a claim, it is like, I think Mona has even made a comment about that, and you were just alluding to that. Basically, when you submit a claim, your premiums go up. That's usually what happens. And I have to say, I was a little cautious, I was concerned about that. And I did express that concern. So, but at this point, that's already happened, so we're past that. Lydia, what's your thought on that?
Well, having insurance, this community is 40 years old.
I'm not saying don't use
Yeah,
it,
I know.
I mean, we're there.
I know, we need to use the insurance. We haven't put a claim in 40 years except for one unit that caught on fire. And so that was paid for, but in 40 years, we've never asked our insurance company to fix anything. That's
So,
that's a little
yeah.
ridiculous to me.
Well,
And the other thing is,
we
some
can't speak
insurance
to that.
agents make money off of us not making claims. And we
There's a
don't know
little
what
bit of all
that
that.
situation is. So, and then our insurance premiums have gone up regardless of us not making claims.
True and true. All those points are very, very true. So, and let's keep this. The thing is here, and Tempra will come to you, and Mona, I see your hand up as well. Just a couple things, just for the, as you're having this group discussion. You just want to, you don't toy with claims lightly. There is going to be repercussions. Hopefully those repercussions benefit you, but you need to go in with eyes wide open.
Mhm.
Believe me, people are making money on it. Part of the reason we're having to replace our roofs is because of the challenges that the insurance industry has been going through, specifically in Florida. I can't speak to for other states, but that is one of the challenges that we're addressing. And one of those issues, how interestingly enough, is because of the fraudulent claims driven by our friends in the roofing industry. It is what it is. I'm not saying that everyone is, but that's part of it. I mean, that's just what we've been dealing with, and we are now the recipients of all those challenges. We are where we are. So what I'm saying is, where we need to go from here is, let's see where we are in the process with those claims. And I'm gonna pause and I had Mona's hand up, and then Temper, I know you wanted to share something as well.
I can wait till after one.
Okay, Mona, you're on, girl.
Just to let you know, Nina's hand is up as well, and her hand has been up for a while.
Thank you.
But I wanted to comment on the fact that this is even scarier, that we have no contract of how much we're getting from this claim. And meanwhile, the insurance companies are, our broker, our independent adjuster we are hired is brokering of some sort of a deal with the insurance company in order to get money, and yet we have no contract.
We have a contract, we just need to see it. We need to know what it is, we need to understand what it says. Any contract, you should know it very, very well. So it will be addressed. And have no fear, we'll read it, it is what it is, let's get our head around it, let's get our arms around it, and know how to proceed. Temper, what are your thoughts?
Let me rephrase that.
Oh,
Mia.
sorry.
It was not that we have no contract, but we have no idea of the percentage we're going to be gaining from going this route.
We will. I mean, at this point, we have to just accept the fact. This has been signed. It has, it's, at this point, we can't go backwards from that. And let's just be clear, this is how independent claims adjusters work. That's just, that's not unusual. Not all are created equal, but apparently we have a contract with 5 Star, so we need to proceed.
Just get it in our hands,
Yeah.
analyze it.
If you
Proceed.
check your emails now, you should see percentages in there. I'm not sure if in the thread the contract is in there. I'm actually looking for the
Wait,
official
seriously?
contract. But,
No.
okay, so I probably still need to provide the official contract, but I know the percentages because I requested clarification
Okay.
for everyone, so I just resent it around. Here's a thought process for everyone while we're tearing up and putting back down and building back up.
Just the contract.
We
is
have
in
no
that-
money.
The contract is in that email chain.
It is?
Yes, because he
Okay.
was saying in the meeting there was a confusion. Like Lisa said, I don't know what contract, but she did sign the contract.
Mhm.
So he forwarded the contract.
Yeah, I mean, because I wanted him to say no money is due, nothing recoverable,
Oh, yeah.
nothing paid on the attorney side or anywhere else.
So what's the
What is
percentage?
Nothing paid.
Well, that's what we're going to
It's in
find
your
out.
email.
Well,
So-
these people don't have.
We
the
wanna
email
know.
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
All right.
You want me to
So-
read it out to him?
Let's go from this point, because I
Okay,
wanna make sure
so-
we're making progress.
So here's the other part of the thought process, and I'll make it quick.
That's right.
At the point that we were discussing this, we were trying any way that we possibly could to bring funds to the table, and we're still thinking.
Agreed that, absolutely.
Okay, so that's why this is something that was not out there while we were trying to make it through the roofing project, not really out there while we were trying on the financial
It
side.
was going concurrent.
It was running concurrently, kind of behind the scenes, because they needed to come out, they walked on some of you all's roofs, and they could tell,
That is not behind the scenes.
so.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be behind.
Well, you know
It
what
can
I'm
be
saying, it
completely-
wasn't, we had a priority and we were dealing with priority.
Well, I would say, let's just be very conscientious on the language we use. It is concurrent. And I
Yeah.
say that because let's revisit this. This is a very sensitive project to everyone, and we need to be conscientious. The language that we're using is spot on. Because 2 people hear something else, and then this can spin out ridiculously, and this doesn't need to be any more stressful than it is. This is why I am throwing this out on the table, because we need to understand what we have, what we don't have. Temper just hit it as well. Mona, I know that you said that Nina's hand was up. Nina, do you want to chat? And thank you for your patience.
Yes, just a comment, because it's not only that the adjuster is willing to pad whatever it is he's going to provide the insurance company to make sure that he gets some money, but there's also that you can't forget deductible that the insurance companies has, which is always the deterrent to putting in a claim.
Well, this would be, because this was based on Hurricane Ian, any type of hurricane claim is always a separate deductible from your standard insurance.
Disaster or something like that.
It's specifically, it's a hurricane deductible.
Yeah.
So, agreed. Mona?
That's usually, the hurricane deductible is usually very high. I
So-
know it's usually a percentage of the property value, at least in my
it's a flat
homeowners
dollar
one,
amount.
it's a percentage of the property value.
It is.
I think it's 3 or 5%.
So let's put it as an action item to get the, yeah.
And our policy is a percentage.
Our action item on here is to, I would like the board to review that contract, become knowledgeable with it, and also, please get an update on where we are in the journey. I'll call it a journey. Feels like a journey. I feel like Lord of the Rings. You good?
Because any lost runs that are attached
Is there
to
a
our
ring?
community
My precious.
We'll be there for 5 years.
affects the future
Yeah.
of
Oh,
us
yeah.
getting insurance.
So, and here's the thing, they put in an estimated amount for us before we got our insurance in November. And we were already with the insurance company of last resort. So we don't have the insurance proposal from Citizens this year. I can't even think of the name of the group, but it's a different insurance company, and we were $20,000 to $30,000 lower. And that's not counting the application fee, because the application fee is always about $30,000. So we weren't affected by the inquiries. That was my thing. This
But-
time we weren't affected.
But that's just the
Okay.
inquiry, we don't have the official loss run on there yet, so once the official loss run is on there,
Then we'll be
that
affected.
affects the insurance. And then at the same time, we have to look at the apples to apples of what we lost, not just a decrease,
Right.
is what have we lost as far as coverage for that loss of $20,000 that we're gonna have to pay.
If we experience.
And Scott's next comment.
Rita, could you repeat the 2 action items you want for action item number
Yes.
2? You said to review the 5-star contract, and there was a second item.
Excuse me. I had to get out of work. I have a Lydia
said-
that I work with. Lydia is to connect with the independent claims adjuster to find out where we are in the process.
Okay,
Sorry, Lydia.
thank you.
I have an unsigned contract, I don't have the signed one.
Okay, I
Just-
think I have the signed one. I just
Okay.
have to go through it.
That's
Everything's
fine.
kind of a hodgepodge,
But-
but
That's
Just,
totally okay.
just to, for Stephen, I wanna say this, maybe you can help me out a little bit, because in my head, like, making an insurance claims will affect us, you're saying, but not having a 45-year-old roof affects us more.
I'm not saying that we
okay.
should not
A 40.
take advantage of any monies that are gonna be given to us.
Let's go in with the eyes wide
But
open.
we have
Us
to,
aware.
it's just like a balance. If
Mhm.
they say, okay, they're gonna give us 100,000, let's just say, even though, let's just say $1 million. Let's just say they give us $1 million. But over that period of time, we're losing $1 million
The counterbalance will,
worth of
2
insurance.
million, we're $1 million in the hole.
So
It's a lot.
the adjusters also reviewed that insurance company's contract with us to make sure it was worth going after. For this hurricane here, they said, because it's not before we had way better insurance. What is it, Citizens? They were like, it might not be worth it because it's
So
Citizens.
let's be clear on something here. And Lindy is touching on a good point, as is Stephen. So an attorney's group is not going to be associated with something like this if it wasn't worth their time, because how many attorneys do you know that work pro bono? I know one, and I know a lot of attorneys. from a previous career. But, so I anticipate that this is something that that there's probably something substantial. What substantial is, I don't know, but we need to make a point. I see a couple of hands up. Mona, you have 3 hands up. Kenneth, I saw your hand up, popping up there, so go right ahead.
So in regards to claims on roofs, everything is done off Xactimate, which is the nationwide insurance claiming format for roofs and tile roofs in general. They're generally in excess of probably 20 or 30% above what the roof is going to cost. So it's, let's say, I've been seeing roofs go through in the $1,400, $1,500 to $2,000 a square coming back from the insurance claims. That's statewide. So that's kind of the ballpark of where they come at. I know there is some legislation that went through last year that stipulates that for insurance claims, they capped it at 10%. And it used to be that the attorneys could add on to the claim their fees, and they can't do that anymore. So I think they're limited to, I think, 10%.
Don't get excited about that, folks, though.
That's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I think they're limited to about 10% on the claim. So if it's a $7 million hit on the insurance, they're going to take $700,000.
They get paid first. Let's establish that, right?
And then of course the deductible has to come out of that too. But it would be if the roofs are being done by 5.8 million, it would be above that if they approve it. The downside is you guys don't have any decking on 95% of the community. How that plays into the mix, whether the insurance will validate a claim because of that, that's where it gets sticky. And there's only a couple areas in Orlando, or in the state really, there's not that many that don't have decking. So that's something the attorneys would probably know more about, is whether that could even be something that they're going to anticipate getting money, and how much, based on the fact that you guys don't have anything protecting the structure internally because there's no decking and no inlet. I don't know if that's a variable. So.
It is a variable, and I want to do this, and I want to be conscientious about time and what we're trying to accomplish here. The action items have been laid out. I don't want to beat this up any further right now because there's unknowns. Let's find out what those unknowns are first, and then we'll proceed. Where I'd like to take this next is, and there's a little overlapping here, because this is already concurrent with the project. I would like to make sure that we have a follow-up as soon as possible to get these details, because this will have impact on us. And let's say this could potentially be a source. Now, I find these situations with insurance companies fickle, but let's lean into it that this could be something very positive and beneficial. So I completely understand why Tempra had the idea of let's explore this, and I know you were referred to, was it Tempra, Lindia, had the idea, because I know you've spoken to other communities.
Yeah.
So there's benefit to that. So I'm not saying that this is a negative thing, but I don't go into things with rose-colored glasses. I like to look at things as, what's the reality? What are we going to truly have? What is the impact? What are the repercussions? Now I'm going to take this further. There's some overlap in here, so please bear with me. I know that we've had a community petition go out, and I'm going to read it. And this community petition has been in favor to delay this project. So again, I'm just putting this all out on the table. Allow me to read this aloud, just so everyone is aware, because I'm not sure who knows about it. Honestly, I got it emailed to me, so I found out about it through getting it emailed to me. So based on this, and this is the cover of the petition, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because what we're talking about right now, this could play into this petition. I'm using it in that relatable sense. So this was provided, Shay, your name's on this, so I believe you spearheaded this. Would that be correct?
I wouldn't say I spearheaded it.
Okay.
The homeowners.
In other words, who started it? Is that a bad thing?
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying exactly
Okay,
that.
well, I see your name on it. That's
Okay.
the only thing I'm going with it. Okay.
I submitted it, let's say that.
Okay, all right, so, this was addressed to Lisa Moore, the previous president.
Is this the cover letter you're reading?
This is the cover letter that I'm reading, and this also is in the Google Docs. Everything I get, I put it in there, okay, or the Google Drive, I say Google Docs, Google, it's in the Drive. It's saying, I believe this is to Lisa Moore and also to the Vista Community Association Management. And it's referring to 51% petition form Florida statute 718112. That 51%, I'm assuming this is the name of the petition. I've heard that, and I have not validated these numbers. I have to spell that out. I am a data analyst, so I have to say that. I can't state that 51% of this community signed this, but I have been told that they have. I do have the list of signatures, and there are quite a few signatures. So I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to formally present a petition signed by 51% of the unit owners. Island Club at Rosemont Condominium Association. We, the quorum, unit owners, request to have this petition serve as a request to be added to the agenda of the November 20th annual meeting. Okay, not really the part that I wanted to delve in. The part I wanted to read. The petition serves as a formal request to the board of directors. The undersigned homeowners seek additional time and involvement in assessing the current roofing conditions and securing the necessary funds outlined by the board. We respectfully ask the final decision regarding the roofing project be postponed and made by the board elected in 2026, allowing, and I did say that correctly, 2026, allowing sufficient time for thorough evaluation and financial preparation. And then it goes on to listing the individuals. Oh, it also says, attached to this letter, though I don't have this, you will find the petition documents which include the signature of unit owners, I do have that, who support this request. Each signature is accompanied with the respective unit owner's printed name, unit number, and date of signing. We believe that addressing this matter is crucial for the well-being and the satisfaction of the community. We kindly request that this petition be added to the agenda for the upcoming annual board meeting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what I'm gonna suggest, if you have any petition around the roofing committee, just send it to me. I shouldn't have to go chasing this down, right? I happen to be the project manager of the roofing committee. It would be associated. So I do wanna clarify something. And Temper just got excited about something, so I'm just gonna call that out. Okay, the, assessing the current roofing conditions and securing the necessary funds outlined by the board. Two factors here that I want to call out. As far as assessing the current roofing conditions, it's not the roofing conditions that were replacing the roof. Keep in mind, the original reason that we approached this was driven by insurance. Insurance will not insure roofs beyond 50 years of age. Our roofs are roughly about 45 years old. This is why the conversation started almost 2 years ago. I think Temper started it right about 2 years ago. If I admit that. I remember going to those first meetings. So the discussion was we need to start thinking about this, we need to do something. It's not because all the roofs are in bad condition. I have one over my head and it serves me pretty well. But it's not about the condition of the roofs. Though I do understand there, given some of the challenges that we have, some maintenance issues, I know that the roofs do have leaks from time to time. I know that the maintenance team does support that. We have had 2 code violations submitted. Those roofs have been replaced. We actually have 2 other code violations right now that do include the roofs. And I did speak with the building officer today. We had a very nice chat, so I'm talking with them and actually his boss. So I think we are all getting to be very good friends at this point. So they understand where we are with the project and they appreciate the proactive nature. But let's establish this. As far as the conditions are one factor. The other factor, the main reason we're doing this project is really around insurance. So if a roof needs to be replaced because it's structurally required, that's one thing. But let's not, the project charter was driven by insurance. Okay. Shay, I see your hand.
I just want to make something clear. She's saying that someone sent this to her. This was something that was addressed to the board. That the board did not call a meeting this whole period of time that the homeowners and a lot of you here signed this petition to address it. It is now being addressed by a person who has been deemed by the president, the previous president, the project manager. This individual did not reach out to me, as you see my name is there, or ask a meeting to even find out from the homeowners how they feel about this. But she is now critiquing it in the matter which she feels favorable to what she thinks the scope of this is. Two is, she is just now mentioning that she is in contact, as I was on the board, as some of the other people that's still on the board, she is communicating with the city who can then be liable on a project that we do not have funds for, and that the board members does not see this communication going back and forth. So we as a board, when I was on the board, do not have the information that she's discussing with the city that is holding up homeowners who have issues within their homes. Now, I am privy to the board and their response to this document. I am privy to the board and their response when it comes to this is more than what she's aware, because she's explaining to everyone here today that she has been like sideswiped on the communications with Florida Specialty and the halt of that or the contracts. She has not been giving all her the information, and it has put her in a serious position right now. So I'm just asking you guys to pay attention to the things that are being said, not being said, and how they are addressed. You can continue.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so what I would like to approach, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to say one thing. When that petition was approached to me, I'm shocked when you said 26.
That's what it says.
Yeah, I was not given a copy of the petition. I was told what was on the petition, and it was current board, new election. So there is a cross there.
Yeah.
And one of the big things we talked about, or one of the big kerfuffles last night, was the fact that there was a complaint that the current board continues to kick the problem down the road. This is continuing to kick the problem down the road. If
It
this
does
is
seem
a
to
problem
conflict, doesn't
that needs to be taken care of, and it's going to hurt, but it needs to be taken care of. So we don't need to continue. We need the answers you need. You should have had all of this stuff in front of you as the leader or the head of this particular board.
Committee.
The committee. Thank you. Terms.
You can use whatever term you want.
I can make up some really big ones.
I think we all do.
And I'm a sailor, so I do use those colorful
And
words.
I wouldn't mind that.
But these problems don't need to be continued to push forward because we are at the end of our insurability.
I agree.
And all of us have to maintain insurance on our homes. We cannot maintain insurance on our homes if we do not have insurance as a community. So this problem, you need the information, and you are very knowledgeable on contracts, and I'm very impressed. But you should have this information. You should have had this information all along.
And that's why we're meeting now.
Also, the community, just like I spoke with you last night about simplifying the information to get out to the community. You would get more response from the community
Keep it
if
simple.
you simplify it. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, that is the biggest complaint as a homeowner I have, that if there's lack of communication within the board, you can imagine how the homeowners feel.
Okay, so this is why we're here tonight. And I see
Exactly.
a couple hands up. Lydia, am I missing one? Lydia Scott, in that order, please.
So I did see 2026, and I did say that's too long. right? Because
Yes.
people really need
Oh, yes,
a roof.
we need it.
But I do understand that this many people signed it, so we need to have a conversation.
Exactly.
There needs to be a middle
Exactly.
ground, there needs to be some other options that will help relieve people or to help people see that.
I don't think
This
the
is what we're
roofing
looking
committee
at.
had the information you needed
Well,
to
in
go forward
fairness,
on a lot
to
of things.
respond to that, and to your point as well, what the roofing committee, and I'm gonna speak to my, as a project manager for the roofing committee, one thing that doesn't, that I have not dismissed, and that has tremendous value to me, and I expressed it earlier in the part of this meeting, is the financial burden, the levity of that burden on each and every homeowner. So there's nothing about this, and I appreciate, I appreciate when people will getting together and communicate with each other. So I think this petition's a fine thing. I have no problem with it. I think it's actually a good thing, and I appreciate it to see that, okay, we have them, but this is no different than many conversations that I've had, and I appreciate that. So I'm not looking at it negatively. I think I just wanted to bring it up because, Shay, to your point, as far as no communication, well, that's why we're here. We're communicating about it right now.
Yeah.
So, Scott.
So, a couple things. You mentioned that that you had some people come and had you
Yeah,
sign
I was
this.
approached.
Okay, who approached you?
It was, I don't remember who was with you, but you were one of them and another lady. And they came, knocked on the door.
Okay, and so Shay, do you remember who was with you that night?
What's your point, Scott?
Do you remember who was with you that night?
What's your point, Scott?
I'm just asking who was with you that night.
I think
Again,
that's irrelevant.
You think it's irrelevant?
what's your
I think
point,
it's
Scott?
irrelevant too, I don't see what.
Where
the point
you
is.
going with it, Scott?
Well, my point is that
Constantly.
she said she didn't see the petition and thought it was under 2025 and didn't realize it was for
Yeah,
2026.
I expected it to be this board that
So
was being elected.
I'm curious if others had that impression as well, who signed it.
I signed it, I didn't have that impression.
Thank
So you didn't think it was 2025, you thought you knew it was
No.
2026?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see another.
But I was just curious who was with you, so I don't know why that's a problem to say. Because you said
It's
you
just
were.
This is not. Trying
This-
to attack.
This
the
is
nation.
what he's doing. That may not be what you're
What am
doing.
I doing?
Let's allow.
He has harassed me many
Excuse me,
times.
let's
All right,
allow.
bring it down.
Rita, that's
Keep
harassing.
going.
No, I-
Who
was with you? I'll ask you.
All right.
I'm
Anyway,
just
please.
asking,
Next
not
question.
him.
Your
Will you not
input
say?
tonight has been
Wow,
very
Clyde.
valuable and
Yeah,
it's
I'm just
clarified
not-
a
it was
lot
with
of
you.
All
things
right.
for
Wow,
me.
Clyde.
And being diverted away from finding out what's going on this is stuff I think is relevant. But here's my question.
Please.
I think you made a statement, well, the roofs are not damaged. But when I bought my house in 2012, I spent a lot of money replacing ceilings that had fallen down. Because the previous owner told me the board refused to repair her roof because she wasn't paying her fees. So therefore, there's extensive damage that was done that I repaired and paid for. But I still don't know if there's interior damage in the walls from the kind of water that leaked in. So when you're talking about the condition of the roof, are we not including damage to the interior of the house?
That's an excellent question. I appreciate that. What is the scope? The scope of the project is to replace the roofs. Anything below the roof is not within the scope of this project. That stated, however, I appreciate you bringing that up because we have had, I think, more than one homeowner who's had that experience. Tisa, I think you've had that issue. My neighbor, my other neighbor, I've got both my neighbors. Thank you guys for being here. So Tisa had that where you had a ceiling come down. So I would dare say that multiple homes have had that issue, which would probably indicate there has been probably leaks or something like that over a spell of time.
Okay, now if the roof comes off my house and they find out there's structural damage with some of the interior wood parts of the house, then that doesn't get repaired or
Okay, so
what
okay, so the part that actually supports the roof, and what Tempera has done is included for the current signed proposal that we have, has included about $250,000 worth of change orders anticipated. That there's probably damage, for example, if potentially trusses. Kenneth has, with patient and has taught me some things about roofs that I honestly didn't wanna know about, but he walked me through it. So if there is any damaged trusses or anything like that, yes, that would have to be replaced.
How about around the chimney?
And the
Where
chimneys, the
fireplace,
skylights, absolutely.
The interior walls are damaged.
Now, interior, so that's outside of the scope of the project.
Even though the roof leak happened by the fireplace.
So that's on something very specific, and I wouldn't be in a position to be able
Yes,
to
it
respond
is.
to that.
Mhm.
That
The
makes it
interior
too-
is interior,
Yeah.
everything from the
But
trusses
if-
up
if-
is roof. That's
Right, but the
that's
roof having a problem
That's a,
created the
that's an
interior.
insurance claim. That's a different
And
insurance.
does this insurance pay for it then, the association
So,
insurance?
I want to be really careful just before you respond to that, and to mean that, so I want to be conscientious about the fact that what I'm tasked with is to replace
Just
these
the roof.
roofs. So I have to work within the scope of the project.
Okay.
Outside of the scope of the project, your point being well made, and this has actually been brought up to me by
So
more than
that
one
other
homeowner.
damage
I
is a-
think that probably is something that the board needs
That's
to
a different
communicate.
issue. Okay.
I don't know if the board would like to respond to that.
So that is part of what the insurance claims group was looking at was, that's why we asked some people to send pictures if you have interior damage, or they knocked on some door and went into some homes, whoever was available. They looked at it, they don't know how much or if they can include that, but they were aware that that is an issue that has caused other problems. And looking at our condo docs, if the issue is caused by the roof or a leak, then it should be repaired, or the association is responsible.
Okay,
So-
and with that, I need to draw a line in the sand, because then we start getting into more legalities with the documents, and I believe that's why the board is already entertaining a new attorney. That's where we start getting into the threshold of, having the docs reviewed to decrease the vagueness around the responsibility of the homeowners association versus the homeowner, is where you're bringing that. And that's where I need to draw a line in that sand, so that we can continue to make progress. I have no idea whose hand up. Hand is up.
Temper is first. Go ahead,
Okay.
Temper.
Thank you. So, just to kind of alleviate some concerns, Rhea spoke correctly. What we did was we built 250,000 into the amount. So that's included in your 7,000. That's that amount that's gonna take care of unforeseens. And if there's any extra that needs to come, because we're anticipating that too, like we don't know how many houses are gonna have a fine frame and how many houses will have skylights that need to be moved because they're in a valley, or chimneys that have issues where mine kind of sort of collapsed because of a big cat, and the cat fell through right at the base of the chimney. I know. And so it didn't come all the way through the ceiling, and I was happy thinking everything was good, because from time to time I've had, Ben and everybody go up there. But Milton gave me 7 additional leaks to go with that. So I have a big concern about just how many leaks are in my roof and just what we're gonna be able to cover. So there's proactive things that we'll be asking people. Like right now we've got even in the face of stuff coming in, other amounts, we've got it kind of sort of as low as we can get it. And we kind of want to know we'll do Survey Monkey or something in another part of this to see where everybody is and how we can go ahead and get the ball rolling. But that amount is in that 250. So I'm looking at how many, some people don't have chimneys. So we don't have to worry about them. We have to make sure they're sealed off so nothing goes up or down them, but that's it. Then we have some that just need trim. We'll have some that need to be completely rebuilt. All of that is in the bid. We have some, what do you call them, skylights?
Yeah.
All the skylights will be replaced. But there will be some where they're sitting in the wrong place and they're causing you leaks. So those we're gonna move. And the change order, because I'm hoping that you don't have to pay for anything extra. I think that's what the young lady was alluding to, like, we're gonna do the roof and then I have to come up with more money to do the inside. That's gonna be another topic of discussion, is if there's anything left over, can we take care of that? So that this outlay is the only outlay you have to worry about. And that's my thought. It's not necessarily, I'm not gonna put that on them. That's gonna be a decision. We represent you, so you have to let us know what you think. So I'm done.
So, thank you for that, and I wanna be conscientious of, again, of time. I think what we've hit here is, the things that have been on the minds of many folks, as far as understanding, we have two things to consider here. With this roofing project, the roofing project was driven by the insurance needs, but there are structural needs. And I need to be, in order for me to make progress where I need to make progress and serve everyone well, I need to stay focused on, within that charter, if you will. But, Shay.
All right, so again, just want to bring to you guys' attention, especially all the faces I see here that I know signed the petition, all right? We structured it in a way, the petition, to year 26, because as you see, this year, you have a new board that's actually still in the year of 2024, because the new board takes over in November. Now, ma'am, when we went to her door, just like everyone else who signed, we allowed you to read it, we explained it to you, we asked you, would this be a hardship? There were many homeowners who had serious hardships that they're not going to be able to afford this, that they feel like they're going to lose their home. They don't have the money. We sat in with many homeowners 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and them explaining their current financial situation. We asked homeowners, would this be a hardship for you at this time? And if it's not, because just like as you explained to me, it wouldn't be a hardship for her at this point. But she still signed it because at the same time, she's looking out for the rest of the homeowners who it will. We're asking more time. Not saying that within that 2026, after speaking with Ken and discussing, in our bylaws, it says it's supposed to be an equitable split when it's dealing with unit repairs. The equal split is with our common area. So I'm always encouraging everybody to read your bylaws. Now she's saying that it's not clear what it says that responsible of the association, which is you, and what's the responsibility of the homeowner. It's clear on there what it is. So this they're saying that it's unclear.
My name's Rhea. You can say Rhea. It's okay.
It's fine because it's not just you saying it, Rhea. That's why I say.
Okay.
I'm saying it's. And then
I didn't want you to be afraid to say it.
No, I'm not afraid of anything. But what I'm trying to explain to you is, I know that previously being on the board, a lot of things Rhea does not know when it comes to the board and decisions that's being made behind the scenes and what her limits are. And then making decisions. Even when it came to, now I am one of them individuals. You see me guys, I'm always recording, right? Because I'm there to make sure I'm coming to the board meetings, to the community meetings. And I'm seeing who's showing up, who's not showing up. And she has had this responsibility of her choosing on what members stayed in the committee of the decision making going down the road, which in my opinion, it should have stayed open to everyone that was on the roofing committee. It should have never broken down to where you only meet with one person. You only meet with two people, because that means that the information is not staying abroad. I'm just talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, we gotta move the.
No, I'm just trying to get you guys to understand as we're going through this and you're listening. Please understand that information.
After the meeting?
That's fine.
Like, if people wanted to approach you after the meeting, could you educate them that way then?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. Because what I want to make sure is that I do have a very specific agenda tonight. So right now, our action items overall, as we move forward, is the bank loans. Let's see where we are with that. Have the board review that. Let's get a feel what the assessment is on the bank loans and where we are. We do know, again, because I want to start putting some very specific finite numbers. Right now, the maximum loan that we could accept or get is $5 million.
Yes.
So far. Okay, that hasn't changed. So we would anticipate that would be the case. Lydia is also going to connect with the independent claim insurance adjuster and get caught up on where we are in that journey with that, whatever phase we are, just to find out where we are in whatever that phase is in the journey of claims. I think ultimately what we're looking for is what if there is any number of claims, how many units would be impacted. Let's maybe start with that. I don't know if they could generally, because that tends to be a soft number, they can say approximately number of units maybe. They're not gonna give you an amount. If they could give us a range, they should be able to give a range, and they may or may not. I don't wanna put you on the spot for that, but if they could explore that. Also,
They have
let's get,
engineers reports, I'm gonna ask them for that.
yeah, I was saying somewhere along the line, somebody knows something. And for the board as well, is to get your hands on the contract, review the contract, let's get familiar with it. I would also like to see that, I'll take a review of that. And then for the board, this is outside this charter, but because it has been brought up, any secondary issues caused by roof issues, that's something that will need to be addressed,
Those are the next steps.
yeah, that would be a next step, it would be a fast follower, or most likely something that can run concurrently, because that has been brought up more than once. So let's address that. And then, communication with, and now as far as communication, let's just make sure that I think we probably need to meet more regularly so that we can just key it up. And I'm not saying, look, I don't wanna see you every week, I've done that already this year, I'm kind of done with that. But just communicating so that we just know where we are. Because there is a little bit of a stall, and out of fairness, I think it gets down to money, because money is scary when you're talking about this much. What I would like our discussion to consider with respect to this petition, with respect to the concerns, let me address this. Stephen helped me with this as far as setting up a financial analysis of this community. It's a little outdated, there's some guesstimate work on it, but about half of this community has lived here less than 5 years. That is half of the community that doesn't have a whole lot of equity. Half of this community has 20 to 30 years here. That's a lot of equity. Now, I can't go and I'd probably do some web scraping and find out exactly what homes are owned outright and all that, but without going into that, basically what we're looking at, this is gonna have substantial impact on, when I say this community, each individual
finances.
human living here, okay? Me included, I'm right there with you. So what I would suggest is maybe we have a discussion about this. Understanding what we have just talked about with the signed proposal, the concerns about that. What's required to get that proposal moving forward? An AIA contract, obviously funding. That funding being key, what I would recommend is we consider things like, let's find out where we are with our claims. Maybe those claims will offer a resource that will make this less impactful on this community. Let's face it, this is stressful, this is hard.
Can I tell you something?
I'm not, before I say this, folks, this sucks. It's about as raw as I'm gonna get. It sucks. I get it, and I'm right there with you. I'm gonna do everything in my skill. I'm gonna take every skill I have, every experience that I have to a project. And this is not the first owners association project I've done. The last one I did was also the biggest in the history of that homeowners association. So I know where this goes. I am sensitive to this, and I will be very conscientious about it. I have spoken to my direct neighbors. I understand the stress that they're going through, and I'm looking at what it can impact for those with fixed incomes. And then I also know respectfully there are people who are just saying, just tell me where to sign the check, when to sign the check. I'm ready to sign it over now. So we have a variety of profiles here that can be considered, and they should be considered because they can be to the benefit of the overall community. So I just want to be conscientious about that. I will also dig up. If I'm concerned about something, as you're hearing me tonight, I am going to talk about it very transparently. So what I propose to the board, and this is not to have an answer tonight, okay? Let me establish that. This is to have a discussion. Let's talk about, once we have an idea where we are with claims, let's see where we are with that. Would that financial resource be something to consider before we delve into anything else? Let me be specific about that. X number of dollars. I don't know if that's going to be $5. I don't know if that's going to be 500,000. I don't know if it's going to be a million. I don't know what it's going to be. But it would be less taxing on each individual homeowner here if we had that. Since we've already gone into it, we're already in it. You don't get, you can't step out of this, you can't say, oh, never mind, I'm not gonna submit this claim anymore. It doesn't work that way, we're already in that system. So, at this point, I would suggest, let's see where we are with it. What is the anticipated range of units it impacts? They're not gonna give us an exact amount, that's not where it's at. But is it worth considering? And this is not for me to decide, this is for us as a group to decide, does it make sense to wait on claims? Because we're looking at a scenario that if we are taking out a loan, there's interest, it's gonna be costs in addition to what we're, our additional monthly dues, okay? I'm gonna throw something else at you. And I understand walking out of this, I gotta watch my back, I understand, but I'm just gonna call this out. Something else, we do have, Timber, you have also outlined, that the 3 units that have been completed, that equates to $133,350,000. Is there any tax, is that the exact amount?
That's exactly.
The exact amount, okay. All right, so we have that. I also need to, we're gonna wait on questions right now. I need to get this out because my brain's going and I don't know how much I have left tonight. So we also have 2 other code violations. Let me make something very clear. Very, very clear. Because I've had many discussions with the building department. They understand that we have a roofing committee. They understand that we have a roofing project, and they understand that we are working incredibly proactively to address this issue. They also understand, and this was said very well by the, excuse me, hang on. So, by the building officer that I was communicating with today, he understands, and they understand that when you're dealing with a project of this magnitude, and this is not the biggest project they've had to deal with, obviously, but this is big to us. They understand that. They understand the challenges of what we need to go through as an association to work through this, so they understand the levity around that. But we do have 2 other code violations. And I'm gonna have to attend a hearing probably next month about that. But I've been incredibly transparent. Tempera, Lisa, Gerald, I just copied you on my communication follow-up today, so it'll be the first time you see that information, but I'll be happy to backfill any information. So we have those code violations, and I would suggest for just consideration that maybe we handle those separately. Maybe take them out of this project. And where I'm going with that, and I will communicate this very clearly, because I did express a concern, if we have this onslaught of violations going in, because people are thinking you're getting your roof done first, it's not gonna happen that way. The building department does understand that we have a roofing project in place. We have a signed proposal, and we have $50,000 already deposited towards it. So they understand that we have been incredibly proactive. So if there are any other violations that come in, they're basically going to tell you, look, we already have a roofing project in place, a proposal has been signed, we are moving forward with it. So, yes, sir.
Just to make clear, so when you said take the co-violations out of the equation, you simply mean
Out of
not
it.
in consideration, we're not taking them out, we're not gonna take them out like paying for them now, but that not to consider them in terms of.
Well, I'm just gonna throw out an idea. What I was toying around with is, what if we kept that as a separate assessment? Just an idea. I'm not saying it's a good idea, I'm just saying it's a separate idea. So right now, we have a little over 133,000 that has been paid. It came out of reserves, correct? Okay. So if we have to do 2 more roofs, let's just say, I'm speaking hypothetically here. Let's just say we decide, super hypothetically, claims probably won't come in until the summer. I have no idea. I'm just coming up with it. Let's say July. July would be a nice, July 4th, Independence. Let's say we decide to hold off, see what kind of claims money we get in, and based on that, we deduct that from what we would have to specially assess. Now, this is not the board speaking, this is just an idea I'm playing around with based on what resources I'm seeing and what we've communicated about thus far. And I'm not saying this is a good idea either, this is just an idea, this is for the board to communicate with and for us to all talk about moving forward. If we were to do that and maybe put aside as a separate special assessment to pay back those reserves, because essentially that 133,000 is paying back reserves. So, and those reserves are important. Let's establish that. Those reserves are critically important. We can't just step away from that. That's why we're in the situation we're in right now. So I'm always in supporting of, paying and making sure that we save appropriately. And most likely we'll have two other code violations that may need to happen before, say, claims come in. So in that case, what I would just want to toy around with.
Those are the two that you're just talking about right now.
Right,
Not
that
two
are current.
additional, so a total of 4. We're just talking 2 total.
2 total.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So if we could consider, maybe if we do have to replace those roofs sooner rather than the rest of the project, because they've already been submitted, again stating, if you plan on throwing any other violations, they're just gonna tell you, well, we already have a project, so that violation isn't gonna get you very far. So we may have to tap into reserves again to pay for that, if it should happen before the roofing project actually gets launched. So
That affects the down payment on the loan, so everybody understands. Filing a code violation is going to affect the money that we have to pay for the loan.
oh, absolutely. Guess what? We're paying for it. So whoever's submitting code violation, you're gonna pay for it. We're all gonna pay for it. Clive, I'm going to you because I haven't heard from you
What
on
are
an issue.
exactly, in simple terms, these code violations? What is the violation? Who complained and who found it? And found what?
Basically, the code violations are that there is structural challenges with the roofs, and the requirement is to get them structurally sound and watertight. I'm giving you the abridged version of the violation.
Yeah, but that
it's
really,
not a whole. You can
almost say that about
And
a
to
lot of
code
the homes
as
here.
well.
Yeah.
Have to be on code.
That's what I mean. It says you just have to have somebody official say that's a code violation.
They have to come out if someone complains. The code officer comes out, reviews it, and Lindia and
Lucky
Shay
they're
have
not
gone
looking
through
at it.
this, so they could probably give you more details. I haven't
The
gone.
Island Club is asked to provide a report. And if Island Club doesn't provide a report that says, hey, this roof is okay, then the violation takes into effect and says, fix it. So
Say
if
the
Island
last
Club
part
can't
again.
do that,
Say the last part again,
If
something?
Island Club has to provide an engineer's report saying that the roof is okay.
Mhm.
And if Island Club cannot do that, and the engineer comes out and says this roof is not okay, then Island Club is required to fix it. But
So do we have any, I'll bring this up then, do we have any engineering reports on the 2 violations? So let's make that as an action item as well. Thank you.
it's usually requested in the letter that the city provides you. They ask you to provide an engineer's report.
And interestingly enough, the officer I'm working with has never brought that up.
Do you have the letter?
I'll have to look. I have, I looked it up, I just looked up the form online and what was not necessarily the letter, so I'll have to look it up.
Now,
But
this
the
is.
other, sorry,
go ahead.
the other thing is, as current secretary, can you CC me on the communication too?
Sure.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sure, what I'll do is I'll add you to, the string. I have a single email string that's been going back and forth, so I'll certainly add you to that.
And just to, according to the reserves, for just replacing that money, I just wanted to read a snippet regarding the structural stability reserves. I still have to research this a little further, or ask whoever our lawyer is gonna be, but the amended Florida statute does say, with respect to items for which an estimate of useful life is not readily ascertainable, or with an estimated remaining useful life of greater than 25 years, an association is not required to reserve replacement costs for such items, but an association must reserve the amount of deferred maintenance expense. So if you have a new roof, you're not required to reserve for it. What I'm saying, what I'm guessing, maybe we can check on that. If you have a new roof, you're not required to start reserving for the replacement of that roof right now, because right now you have a life expectancy of 20 to 25 years.
And your intention with that is,
So you were
when
just
you're saying
asking,
that,
To pull out.
right, and you were just asking about taking that 133 out.
that would be a discussion for the board. That, as far as being prudent, I think we don't need to put ourselves back into a situation where we don't have reserves. Because 20 years from now, we're gonna have to replace the
Well,
roofs again, but
Just, you
it's
don't
a
have to
discussion for the
fully,
board.
yeah, you don't have to fully reserve
Well,
for those already done or just done.
There's that, and then there's the practicality of what needs to be
And
done.
your reference to that was 718 or?
You're saving them.
Thanks.
Saving them.
Okay.
Well, just,
And-
cause I have my hand up first.
Alright, but you've talked quite a bit tonight.
You have
so-
to, and this is a community.
No,
She's
that's
one
not
of the
tonight.
community. She's
But
chair.
but at the same time, things are not being properly informed to the homeowners.
What part?
Because the part I just want to make a note of, please understand, by you speaking on behalf of this entire community for homeowners who are having major issues with their homes because they are filing a complaint, because you don't have the back end story of how long have these homeowners been requesting over and over for an engineer to look at their home, that someone to help them with the leaks in their home, that they contractors will not fix their
That's not my
properties.
place in this project, though. It's
Yeah.
not, that has nothing to do
Yes,
with
it do,
this
because
project.
now you're speaking to
No.
the city, that the city can be liable for this. And
That's
you're
what
infringing on the right of the homeowner who have a major
Right.
issue.
Right,
So that's
you're
it.
going outside the scope of.
No, I'm not. You're telling me
Okay,
that if
that's
someone
your
has
opinion, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna move forward because we have progress to make. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, make your progress.
Apparently, there's
Yeah,
another
I'd like to
proposal.
make
I'm sorry, we have one other person talking. Mona will come back to you,
I'm
okay?
so sorry.
That's okay, that's okay, hang on. See,
Apparently, there's another proposal that's less expensive,
We'll
but
get
the
to that.
same,
Mhm.
identical roof.
Are you gonna get
Have you had an opportunity to look at that
Can
proposal?
we table that? Let's get with Mona's question, and yes, I have that on my agenda for this meeting tonight.
Soon. Good.
We're gonna have to get to it quickly.
Yeah.
Mona,
Yeah.
please.
So my suggestion is you were mentioning funds and you were mentioning that we took money out of reserves to fix 3 roofs. How about the proposal of, and we possibly have to fix 2 more, maybe more coming. That being said, since we have to put all the money in a pot, how about we just put a full assessment out to replace the funds that we already took out, so we have more of a fund of a down payment, which will eventually be a benefit for us because it will be easier to get a loan.
I think what we're moving into now is a discussion that's privy to the board.
Yeah, it's more
Yeah.
board.
So, very good point, Mona. I'm.
And she's
I'm
a board
board-
member, so just for those listening, that's
So,
a,
so I think we have some action items there, very well stated, Mona, as usual, thank you. What I'm gonna, now move this forward to is, the final agenda item. And that item is, so back in, seems so long ago, September 15th was a town hall meeting, and during that town hall meeting, when we were presenting where we were, we were presenting all the values, the numbers that had come together, and what was going to be, what needed to be required. I feel the same way. Basically what the special assessment was going to be, what the loan would be potentially. It was the most conservative approach, worst case scenario. During that meeting, offspring of one of our homeowners did stand up and stated that we're probably paying a couple $1 million too much about that. And so offered for that individual to, well, show me what you've got, okay? Show me the money. So, and that person is Kenneth Martin. Kenneth happens to be here tonight attending with his mother. Thank you, and thank you. So, yes, I have had a lot of questions about that. Kenneth has provided a bid. We actually met with Cancor Roofing. Sorry, I should have the date on this, but it was almost a month ago now. So we have met with him, gotten more details, and then Kenneth was asked to go out and give a more detailed proposal, which he did. So ultimately, that proposal came. Sorry, and I was sitting here going, I had everything right at my fingertips. I have it. One moment, please. Came at 4 point. I'm gonna approach it this way. It came about $1 million. It came in about $1 million, roughly, less than the current proposal we had. So then the question was, we got to compare apples to apples with it. So ultimately, yes, as a matter of fact, Stephen, Lindy, and I met Monday evening, and we reviewed it. Now, this is a rough review.
Okay, this is not a highly detailed review, but ultimately, apples to apples, it was very close to it. And there are some differences, but let me establish, yes, I'm one, when I'm looking at vendors, I don't run to the cheapest. The cheapest is not always the best. Let me be very clear. When I originally presented back in August, the criteria that the roofing committee agreed upon and that I shared during both of those town hall meetings between August and September about the criteria that a contractor would need to meet in order to be considered. Cancor, which is the roofing company that Kenneth had referred us to, did check, I would say, all the boxes. There's some of those criteria, and I'm not going to bore you with all the great details, but length of experience established with a company. He has been in business since 2017. Cancor has been in the roofing business for about 30 some years, but has owned company Cancor since 2017. License is current. So in other words, what I'm saying is he checked all the boxes. Insurance, all those factors involved. One of the boxes I didn't check, because we haven't looked into it further, is I'm looking at referrals. The reason I didn't go running after referrals is because, again, we have a signed proposal already. And I've shared with you the struggle I have, that we have with that. It just is what it is. So this is a discussion that we're now moving to the board. And I didn't give the exact amount, Kenneth, since you're right there, 4.6. Is that right?
It's close to that, yeah.
We have it right there.
4.587.
It is.
Is that option 3
Thank you,
you're looking
Lydia.
at?
4.875.
Yeah, that's option 3 for
Here it is.
$4,587 and $500.80.
4,243,000.
There you go.
That's for option.
He gave-
okay, for option 1. I was
Yeah.
doing option 3.
Yeah.
Option 3 is
Yeah, he gave us
6295.
options.
Option 3 is with solar.
Yeah,
Solar.
it's with solar. Option 2 is 4146250.
So ultimately, we're going to respond to the questions of, have we received it? Yes, we have received it. Kenneth, thank you very much, because I know you put a lot of time into that, and I didn't give you much time to do that, so thank you and to Ori. And so pleasantly so. But, yes, there is an option there. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. And it is something to consider. Let me establish again, we did not actively go after that bid.
I brought it.
Thank
It
you.
was because of me. Because.
And because you're mom, that's why I'm sitting over here. And I respect that. So, I always respect mom. But thank you. No, I appreciate that. Timing isn't always, is not always on our side. But we need to be very conscientious and respectful. I have a lot of respect for contracts, whether I like the contract or not. What I propose to the board is that we have a discussion about how to proceed with this. I am throwing a lot in here. I am talking about, this is not a good contract. We would need to come up, first and foremost, with the funding. We need to make sure we have an AIA contract in order to move forward.
And
This, sorry?
And it has to be signed, because if it's not,
Sure.
those top.
Oh, indeed,
But
indeed.
if it's not signed, can we back out?
No.
Okay,
You'll
if that's,
Go
You
back
can
to that.
amend, but you can't back out. You can amend.
well, you can back out. But the
no
back
cost.
out,
We'll do what's for the profit.
Cost outweigh
So-
the benefit.
Got it.
that's where some negotiation comes into play. And this is where I'm going to ask every board member, anyone who would be communicating with Florida Specialty, this conversation stays here. Is that understood?
By everyone.
I need an okay from this board. from
Yes, yes,
everyone.
sure.
By everyone.
Okay.
From everyone. We
Because
haven't gotten it yet.
this is not a discussion to have with Florida Specialty. This stays within our purview.
But who's speaking to Florida Specialty?
And that's why we need a yes from everyone. We have not gotten it.
Temper, I'm bringing that up to you as well.
Understood.
Okay. And I'm not trying to intentionally throw a monkey wrench into this, but we need I need to speak in terms of what is the best what is best for this community. And the financial burden on this community is big. What's the smartest way to move forward with it? The contract with Florida Specialty, that really concerns me. We can move forward with it. We can move through it. There are ways. Can we get out of it if we have to move out of it?
Point of order, did Mona and Lindy also say that they are okay with not discussing with Florida Specialty?
Thank you.
I'm okay with it. I do have some, you can finish because I do have.
I just wanted to make sure that, since all board members needed to, I don't know that I heard.
Sure. If you're finished.
I'm pausing. I'm fine to pause.
So, but like I've said before, and you did say, I'm sorry. Well, like I said before, said to you before, the fact that Florida Specialty has been with us for about 6 months or more right now, and having a conversation with Cancor, informal conversation, he did hear that, and he did have that as a concern because in the industry, Cancor, the guy that was with.
You're referring to Ori?
Yes.
Okay.
So he did.
But you
hear
were
that.
referring to Specialty heard that Kencor was here having a conversation with us. Is
No, I am saying
That's what I
Cancor was
That's the
here.
way I understood
No, when
it.
Cancor was here, he heard that we
Who's
do have
he?
Ori from Cancor.
Who is the president of Cancor?
Okay.
He did hear that we do have a contract with Florida Specialty. And for him.
I've been incredibly transparent about that.
But for him, that is a concern that he will not step into. Because
Of
it's kind
course.
of, and like I said before, it's kind of like broker. When a company has been talking to a client for 6 months and has been going through this with them, and then you step in and say, I'm coming in now.
It's called
kinda like-
professional courtesy.
Yeah, there's an ethics.
Correct,
There's
he
an
doesn't want the
ethics
same
thing.
thing done to him down the road, so he's not
Exactly.
doing that to somebody else.
I
Right.
Small community.
So that is one of my concerns. And for me, there is room for negotiation with Florida Specialty to say, hey, this is what we have in our pocket right now. This is how much money we have.
We have nothing.
We have nothing. So Florida Specialty, we got no money, we can't afford to pay you, have a good day, see you.
And this is what we're going after, like right now, this is what we're going after, this is our process. To sit and communicate with the contract, because I see projects delayed all the time, whether it's for funds or the community disagrees with what should be there, they get delayed all the time. And then so I'm used to sitting back and waiting. Other people are not. Other people, this is a foreign process to them. This is regular to me. But
Likewise.
so it's something that I know there can be a conversation with it. And when you're ready, I say like, if you're still sticking, like if we already, for some parts we know we already won the project, so the client comes back to us like maybe a year, 2 years later and said, hey, we're ready to proceed. Okay, well, with the money you have, what can we still do with this design? What can we do? You know, like
change over that time.
right.
You know?
Correct.
So that's how the conversation kind of goes when it's delayed. It's not that it's not gonna happen and this is our price and this is it or whatever. There's still conversation that happens.
There's still conversation whether there's room to negotiate with a company that we've already signed a proposal with. I would struggle with that.
And
And a
who
company-
signed,
the
wait a
purpose-
minute, who signed that
Well, the purpose
contract
of
without other
this-
people looking at
The
it?
purpose of
Other
the
people
point
did
on the
look at
table
it. It was
is,
voted on
Why
at the
did
board.
we're not
look at it?
going to
She was never
talk,
for it. But she was.
we're not talking Florida Specialty. That you're asking all board members present to state what was said here tonight doesn't get communicated with Florida Specialty.
That's exactly. what
So
I'm
that's
saying.
the point that we're on right
do
now.
Negotiations,
And so lead-
do negotiations get done? But how can we negotiate with them if we don't talk to them?
We have to get our information by the bank
We
and the
need-
insurance.
Yeah, we need other
Then we
information.
can talk.
100%.
What
So
Florida
it's a
Specialty is
coordination.
looking for right now, because Florida Specialty was trying to set up a meeting to communicate. Basically, they wanted to set up a meeting to discuss things such as billing and project and everything. That's all well and good, but that's part of the AIA contract. So our response was, we don't want to have that discussion with you because we need an AIA contract in order, so that discussion shouldn't be had. We need to have that in a contract. That contract had not been created yet, hence the delay. And at that point was where I said, I need to talk with the board because of everything we just divulged this evening.
And so I think we're still waiting for a few board members to acknowledge, is that correct?
Yeah, Mona, are you still with us? I see the creepy puppet behind Mona, but I don't see Mona. Mona may have had to step away. She knows what I'm referring to. It's funny.
But can
Mona
we,
has a creepy puppet.
can we,
Mona, do you have a creepy puppet?
Mannequin.
It's the mannequin behind
Oh,
you.
no, that's Betty, my mannequin.
Yeah, she creeps me out. Okay, go ahead. I'm teasing you. So the question, Mona, is what I am asking is that every board member who could potentially communicate with, and roofing, well, it's just me and Stephen on the roofing committee at this point, that could have communication with Florida Specialty, understand that the conversation we're having this evening is confidential to this board and to this roofing committee and is not to be discussed with Florida Specialty.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that with me at all. I was one of the few board members who voted against Florida Specialty and against signing the contract without funding.
Noted.
So I have no problems not saying anything.
Noted. I appreciate that. Thank you. Or that. So, thank you, Mona. I feel like I'm sorry. You had your hand up, and I looked at you, and I said yay, and I
Where are we with his bid?
So what I'm talking about right now, this further discussion needs to be had with the board because I have, in my industry, it's called, I just gave you a data dump. This is a lot of information. Actions need to be had. We have action items already established that need to occur. And I think we're very clear on them. I can go through them again if you'd like, but otherwise what we need to move forward with is reviewing, getting an idea where we are with the claims, reviewing bank loans, see what that looks like. I'd like to talk about anything to do with the code violations and maybe reconsidering how we want to approach refilling the reserves for the code violations that have already been replaced and anticipating most likely what we have moving in the next few months for the other two. And we can't, no other discussion, we do need to have a follow-up meeting with Florida Specialty, but I can't do that unless we have an idea of where we are with all of what I just said.
that's exactly what we wanna do.
So we need to set probably some dates as far as when we will have the 5-star contract in front of us. Tempra and Lisa, I believe, and Lindia have access to that?
I think we all have access to it.
You don't have the signed.
No, we're not gonna find
Okay.
out.
Excuse me,
So-
may I say something, please?
Yes,
Well, I'm still in the middle
Go ahead,
of,
finish.
Oh, you were.
I'm still in the middle of trying to set some dates. So, when can we expect a date on that? Like, who are we asking, and when can the board expect that? Like, would that be Lisa that we'd ask, or would that be Tempra?
I think Tempra. I think that.
Tempra just left, so she's not in.
I'm writing
I
an
think
email,
I'll
I'm writing an email to the claims.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank
then,
you.
I think,
So we can get that information,
okay.
he needs
just the contract and
with the board.
a possible, maybe they can provide a timeline, but that may be vague because who knows how long it takes for them to review.
Okay.
So,
But you're gonna go ahead and just get in contact with them?
I'm writing that email.
Perfect.
You guys will see.
So then we'll get that once you get that, we'll hear back from you.
And should we revisit at that point that as well as once we have the contract, understanding where we are with that phase and looking at loans, what we're looking at, because loans we're looking at percentages. I think it would be a good idea for us to come back together and discuss that. That's, I mean, those are resources that we have to consider before we can move forward with anything.
Yeah, the loan, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Question.
Hang on 1 second because we have a few other things that need to come up, but when do we wanna meet with that? Suggestions, anyone?
How long does it take to go through the loan application process with the banks? Like, that's,
I have no idea, the person who could speak to that is
Timeline
not
of
here.
actions, they have to be fleshed out.
so it seems like that may be a TBD. Instead, set a point person to go ahead and work on that and communicate with the board and roofing committee, and then we can determine the date.
I
Right,
think the
or
board
no?
person who could do that just walked out.
She
He's
needs
not
an
interested
assistant.
anymore.
I feel that she needs a second person on the board as her assistant, so there's no
Some
miscommunication.
collaboration.
Clear.
paired,
think so,
yeah,
too.
Well,
paired, transparent, I mean.
Somebody else.
is Miss Judy Moore on the call?
I
Is
think
Judy
the
Moore on the
secretary
call?
should be, does the secretary want to, because you
Is-
have to write down everything anyway for minutes.
Yeah, I'm, it's cause I'm not familiar with banks or loans like that, so.
Judy Moore's
Or
on the
Lisa
call.
might, Lisa has some banking experience, I mean, she's in the financial industry, we could ask her.
Lisa who? The
Lisa Moore.
President?
The
Well, she's-
past.
She has knowledge, first of all, she has a financial background, but she
I
has
have a
knowledge
financial
of.
background too, that doesn't mean I want her on the board, I absolutely
Can you
don't.
ask Judy?
Do you wanna volunteer and join?
Not really, but.
Can you ask?
You wanna,
Judy, if you can hear us?
I don't think, was Judy on there? I don't.
Judy's on.
Oh, we didn't get her
Hi,
confirmation.
Judy. She's back now. Judy, while you're on, do we get your confirmation as well, not to divulge any of this confidential information with Florida Specialty?
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Judy.
But is she willing to?
Yeah, that's second question.
Judy, the second question, would you be open to working with Tempra to review the banking applications and get an idea of what that looks like? What the applications hold as far as, requirements for, everything from the interest to range of times, the length of time that an application would be valid, all those fun things.
I have never worked in the banking industry. I have a degree in accounting, but I've never, worked in the banking industry. But I'm willing to help any way I can.
Okay. Okay, well, consider that. Does the board wanna?
Knowledge would be useful, sure.
Believe me, Jody, it would be useful. But, I mean, I'm not on the board, so board, you want to select someone to work with Tempra? And Tempra needs to be part of this too. So Tempra needs to agree to work with someone as well, so everything's
are
not
we-
put on her.
Are we able to make a motion to
Yeah.
have that happen? Is,
Not
because this
tonight,
isn't a
'cause this is not
standard
an
board
official,
meeting, so
right.
it seems like that could be an email discussion that then gets finalized at the December 11th meeting.
Okay,
She was not interested, she said.
alright. So that will be at,
December 11th.
Rita.
hang on one
Okay.
second.
And then I do have to go in.
Me too. I actually have some deliveries I still gotta get out by tonight.
May I say something before everybody leaves?
Yes, whoever said that, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the only reason that, I think I appreciate very much what everybody has done, and especially you. Because you have really put a great deal of work into this, and I can see.
I love this stuff.
How thorough you are.
You need us.
And I would like to go ahead and thank you so much for everybody to come in here. The only reason why I got involved myself originally and tried to, very hard to find a way to save money to the community is because I found the price of the proposal that you guys had originally for the roofing was outrageous. So that is the reason why I got involved, and I decided to bring my son. In fact, it was a GC that my son brought in, and that was Ori that came
Yes,
in here.
and that is to be noted,
And
he is a GC.
And he is truly a GC. Unlike, I would like to inform everybody, the person that you have at the present time is not a general contractor. I checked that out.
So
And
Cody
he is-
Bates, I think is his last name, Cody actually
He
just
is
passed his
not,
GC.
he is not a GC, he is only a roofer contractor. And we have in our community a great deal of structural issues, like Tempra already said.
Actually, can we take that a step further, what you're talking about? Because what I was also taught by Kenneth was that because we are using the insurance industry
Mitigation.
standard wind
Yes, sir.
mitigation
Yes,
form,
ma'am.
Because we're using that as a guideline for this
For
project.
insurance, yes, exactly.
And we wanna make sure that we take full advantage of all the benefits
That's
of
correct.
making sure that we have sound structural
That's
roofs
correct.
to take advantage of those
Your
benefits.
your current one.
You do
cannot.
require a GC,
Yes,
for
and your
the
current
project.
one does
Did I say
not
that
offer.
somewhat correctly?
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
That, the current person that you have with this proposal is not a GC, he's a roofing contractor. So consequently, he cannot offer you a mitigation as a source
for us to have the insurance, discount that we're supposed to have, because this whole thing was brought up because of insurance.
It's
So-
exactly correct.
So basically, you guys have a proposal that is not quite kosher, as we find out already. Number two, you have not been dealing with a general contractor. You've been dealing with a roofing contractor, which is not able to provide us as a whole with everything that we need in order to have the insurance discount that we're supposed to have, the mitigation, which we were told originally that it was a requirement for this particular proposal for to become.
That's correct.
So consequently, you have something that they require, but you do not have.
So in
So,
the
and they
response
have
to
to
that,
use, and they have to use somebody else to back up themselves. They have to use someone else and pay somebody else that
That's
has
what I
a
was gonna say,
GC
yeah.
and has a GC to be able to secure the possibility of be able to do a mitigation. Also, as the fact that they are not true GCs, they cannot do any structural. We have, as she mentioned, Tempra mentioned, we have, problems with skylights, problems with, all the structural chimneys and things like that. That is structural, people, and he cannot do anything with that
Kind of what you,
because
what you-
he is not a GC.
what you alluded to, I think, wasn't a discussion where if they needed one, they'd be bringing one in anyways.
well, actually, I was
But-
told, in person, as a
No,
matter of fact,
that was
Cody was
exactly
sitting
what
right
it
in the
was.
seat you're in right now.
That was the requirement.
Well, he had specified that he was going, he was getting his GC license.
Did he-
So he didn't have it when they signed
So the contract.
He still.
But
Right,
was
'cause
he a
then-
GC
then
when
they
he
said
signed
we
the
would-
contract? That might be our way to litigate out of this.
That's not right.
He did, he doesn't have it still, like, you guys can go to the source and check it out.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't
that's
have a
not-
GC.
What we're talking about are still points, and I know there are a lot of people wanna land, but we do need to start wrapping this, meeting up, because I have a time limitation moving forward. We will have another meeting, so please, I'm really gotta shut this meeting down, because we're already over by half an hour.
I do have a question. I
A
was
minute?
told that we were gonna find out what the lesser rate contract was about, instead of getting scuttlebutt from different people.
Yeah, we did,
And
but-
misinformation maybe.
that
But
amount,
tonight,
again,
it was supposed to be here, and now we're
She's-
not learning anything.
Yeah,
no,
earlier.
I
She'll
did
read it.
discuss it. No, I did discuss
The other
it.
She'll read
contract.
it.
So when are we gonna find out?
So I did discuss it, and that amount that was brought up earlier was 4,243,250,000, okay? There, it has, we did look at it, it does appear to have much alignment with what we're looking at right now, so it is consideration.
It does or it doesn't?
It does.
It's
It does.
exactly the same.
Yes.
It checks all the
Yes.
boxes.
It's exactly the
So
same.
we've gone and
checked all the boxes.
Yes. Fascia board, gutters,
Everything.
it's all been,
Everything.
I've had multiple discussions.
It's
I don't have it
apples
updated, I just have it on
Everything
my
is
phone.
apples to apples. And also the $1 million plus, isn't it?
It's, so I wanna be conscientious of that, because roughly what I came in, it was in that range, you can go
Yes.
up or minus, but
Somewhere
it's
back.
significant, was what
It
it is.
is, $1 million.
But we need to be conscientious about something here. I also we have a responsibility, we have a signed proposal, there's some stickiness to that. And I also, there's some ethics, there's lots of ethics and integrity about being an association and honoring what we signed to. I don't like the contract, I would have never signed that contract, but it has been signed by the appropriate authority.
Proposal. You don't
So
have
we
a
do
contract.
need to address that.
Proposal.
And that,
May I?
it is yes.
I would like to say that
That's
lots
not
of
fair.
people
I've had my
have-
hand up
All
for a long
right, you know
period of
what,
time.
Shay, you've had a lot of time to
Everyone
talk about
has.
tonight.
Everyone, and that's
And
not
you've had
fair.
We're on-
Everyone
we're on-
has.
We're moving forward.
What you mean? I'm on a committee as well. She just
So-
dismissed everybody off the committee? Talking about you're on the
When
We're
committee?
not on
we-
the committee.
when
Oh,
the
you
roofing
removed me off the committee?
did
It's
the
just one person
original-
on there now?
Shay,
Okay,
please.
No, please you.
When the roofing committee looked at the bids,
Why can't we
May I-
find out?
well, maybe,
What?
let me move forward, please. The roofing, all of the, sorry, I'm so frustrated with just, all of the bids came in around the same amount. When we looked at, there's some were higher, Florida Specialty was actually on the lower
But
end.
you have a lower one,
But-
why are we
well,
not looking at it?
We're not saying we're not looking at that, I'm trying to finish my sentence. I'm trying to finish, and you're interrupting, and I didn't interrupt you.
go ahead,
that all the bids were about the same amount. Like we're making the sort of the assumption here is that the board didn't do its due diligence in looking at the bids and price. And yet the roofing committee was very thorough in taking a number of contracts and whittling them down.
13.
And the range of bids was about the same. So it's not like there was a bid on the table for $1.5 million less and we said, oh, we're just gonna ignore that. That was brought to us and we're looking at it. That's what we're telling you.
I'm not talking about all those other things.
Well, I
I
am.
was told tonight, we were gonna find out about the contract that's less money. And we've heard very little
About
except more scuttlebutt rather than what is it?
We
And
just
why
talked-
are we not looking at it?
So we
The
talked about
big
the price
issue is
3
the
times.
contract that we are temporarily
Yeah.
engaged in.
What's it
There
gonna
are
cost
some-
to get out of that contract?
Well, there's some litigation
We talked about that at the
aspects of
beginning
that
of the
we have to mitigate to move forward either out of that contract and how we can do that, because certain
Well,
things
that's
aren't
what we
admitted.
need to know.
Certain things,
what's
well,
going on.
that's what we
Right,
started
and that's
the
on our
meeting
action
for.
items to identify.
I don't know if I explained that well enough.
When are we
Ryan,
gonna
also.
find out?
Out of
That's-
fairness, we covered that at the beginning of the meeting. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you
The
heard all of that,
timeline-
but we've covered it in detail. So with that, what I'd like to do, we do need to move forward to wrap up this meeting because we're about 40 minutes beyond the time. And I do have another responsibility that I need to get to for this evening. So thank you very much for participating this evening. We'll communicate in scheduling a follow-up to these action items. Understanding the holidays are ahead, I do want to respect that. So whatever we need to do, I will certainly do my best to make myself available, okay? But with that, thank you very much, I appreciate all the input. Whether it's been challenging, fun, or even more challenging, that's okay, I welcome it all. But we do need to move forward together, all of us, okay?
Do we
So
know
thank
when's
you
the
very
next
much.
meeting?
That's what I just said,
Not
we're
yet.
gonna talk about,
Yeah.
we're gonna email and coordinate, and whatever that meeting is, obviously it will be posted.
So we wanna execute on some of the, I'm sorry.
Now that I have the president
Thank
here
you
and quite a few members of the board, is it possible that you guys, whenever you have the meeting, you decide when the next meeting is going to be, would you be so kind and send this in a very simple and ahead of time, not the day before? Because
Not
there are
the
a
day
lot of
before.
people, not, because otherwise, people have to, their life, and
They
they have to
have to
prepare.
True.
So if you would be so kind and give everybody time to really prepare for the
You mean like
next.
the announcement that came out that had this meeting on it
It
back
was-
in November?
So,
Like
you
way,
know,
way, like way ago, where
and
we
then
told
it
you
was
about this
just
meeting?
like, sometimes it gets lost in the
We
midst
try to,
of the whole thing,
and when it comes to the review meeting, I do try to provide at least a
Yeah,
couple
you
of
did.
days.
This meeting was posted to you 3-4 weeks ago.
It was postponed and
So,
changed,
we
Scott.
have to find this. See, when
But it was sent to you on.
It was changed, Scott, the date.
That's
So,
okay.
ma'am, your
It was revised.
I had to
timeline is
and
what you're
timeline.
saying,
Yes,
so.
yes, timeline is a little bit different.
Would it be wise to
You
do it
guys
on a
canceled it.
Saturday?
You guys canceled it, then
Bye,
you
Teddy.
reinstated it, and all
Have a good
kinds of
evening.
things happened.
Yeah, Saturday would be good for me.
So, all right.
I mean,
With
'cause
that,
people won't be
everyone,
working.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, board members, thank you, roofing committee.
And someone that was asking about timeline,
Because he's
once
gonna
we
get
kinda
us-
get together and get these actions, the action items kind of more solidified, ma'am, then we can kind of say, hey, this is the kind of a timeline we're looking at the next step going towards completion.
No, but she's saying that those numbers should have been already here because you already had time to prepare for this meeting. So the numbers she's asking for, you should already have. them.
Well, we
What's it gonna
don't,
cost?
and we've got action items we've got
Okay.
to follow through with.
No, that's why she's asking you. You're trying to skate
And
around it.
remember my statement about KISS.
Yeah, I wrote it twice, last night and today.
Kiss, kiss.
It requires a great deal of transparency on how, because I noticed that in a lot of the things that you guys discussed
Oh,
today.
thank you so
So,
much.
so the homeowner will have about two volunteers to be on the committee.
Appreciate
I'm seeing that there's been one person did not get all the rest of them.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to vote on it.
This is going back. Why is it way that where we structured the committee? You chose not to be a.
Yes, I was there.
Okay. Okay.
When you restructured it. and remove people, and just like now, because you felt like as the stage was
Reason I
going.
restructured it is because the people I removed were not contributing, you being one of them.
How was I not contributing?
I won't even get into that.
Tell me how.
It's very important.
I'm not gonna get into an argument
Please,
with
it's not
you
an
because I
argument,
know
it's the
all
fact.
you want is an argument. I'm not
That's
gonna
no
do
argument
that.
at all. There's
I'm not
never
gonna
an
do that.
argument. It's questions.
Believe me, it has to be three people. I know
I'm biased.
somebody that knows a great deal of banking and not necessarily a lot of person that has a lot of.
Close the gaps and research.
Exactly, all the qualities like research, all the
Maria,
qualities
would you mind
like
walking
being
over?
cooperative,
Yes,
all the
sir.
qualities
Of course.
that we need, because, you know, it's imperative to have three minds. You know, I, like I said, I've gone to another board, I'm the vice president of a larger board than this. But believe me, I never approve anybody unless you have three people in the whatever committee you have. It is a virtue, believe me, it will help all of us to have that kind of influence. Because to load up everything to one person is
A lot of
not,
pressure.
plus also, listen, she had so much information that she didn't disclose over there, she didn't disclose over here. They find things that they didn't even know about it, why? Because it's too much for one person.
I will say, it does become a lot of pressure.
It is.
Two, sometimes old mindset. Three,
Exactly.
minimum of volunteers. You know, that,
Exactly.
those three pillars right there make it
Yeah,
difficult.
exactly, so you have to have at least two people helping, temporary, to help with that. And you know something, another point of consideration, whenever I organize a group in the organization that I
I'm listening, that's fine.
happen to be a board, vice president there,
Mhm.
I don't tell you to pick your own people. We all, the rest of it, assign or they volunteer. I'm not gonna tell you, you pick the three that you want, you know what I'm saying? So whenever I heard you say, no, she needs to pick the person that she likes or whatever, no, that's not the way it works.
Assign according to talents.
In democracy, across the board, you have to pick people with different talents. The person might have a talent on accounting, another person might have a talent on negotiation.
Makes you a stronger team.
Negotiation, I'm great at reducing money. Believe me, I don't accept anybody that will give me the price. I will make sure I get less. Period. I'm a negotiator from day one. So consequently, you have to have three different types of people in any kind of in every kind of group that you have.
Actually, five.
Five will be even better.
Yeah, stronger base.
But you know, like I was saying, Tempra needs two people to help
I
her,
got sandbagged
to be able
by
to accomplish the thing.
I don't know his name.
There were people, it's not people on the board, there's people that could assist her. but
Yeah,
she's
I
the
don't
one
know
that
his name,
are-
but
and keeping those
my question
things to
was,
herself.
I was told that we were gonna find
They
out
can.
about the new
They have to.
contract tonight.
I
Why are we not hearing about the new
was just gonna say,
contract?
are we gonna
So-
find out who signed that?
What you
I can't hear.
I say that back to now.
On the left?
Questions back
the
on
one
us
that
as
show up?
board members.
Oh.
Better research. So we can give you a more solid
Well,
answer.
she got reached
Now,
out.
as much as
We can
we're
yell
gonna
at
have
her.
follow-up, but I couldn't tell
She
you
got
the
a
time,
meeting
so-
with, that's why she wasn't here.
But
I know.
the piece you did
And
just
she
kind of
wasn't there
solidified
yesterday,
what
but-
was
She
going
wasn't.
on.
Yes, she was.
She's on
And
the
also,
zone.
She was on the
Yeah,
zone.
she
She
did
was
come
on
in.
the
saying
That's what
something
she's
because,
Yeah.
you
Coming
know,
in
we
is
have
different than
litigation.
zone, because zone you can walk away.
And then too, a lot of people say that they can hear on Zoom.
What's the cost
So they're-
versus the loss?
She was
Cost
like, you are
versus the
not
loss.
that's very
As
positive.
well. Making sure, okay,
I'll try to write
all the
this
right
email
things to
soon.
come.
That's also the fact.
Apples to apples, pardon me.
But, you
So
know,
what you got?
I mean, she.
A golf
A piece of real.
So we have-
Did you guys have a lot tonight?
Oh, so that was probably the best meeting I've ever been to.
But look, they had him. It's about 30
And I don't
sheets
know
of
how-
complaints and I don't know.
Yes,
But
but
most of the time, I'm,
Communication.
instead
So
of.
they actually said,
But
"Just
it
just say
should have been
because
our.
we don't feel like we're.
But we ain't gonna let it go.
So it
wasn't
It's like, why you guys-
We don't even know anything.
Oh, you got my candy? Wait a minute, I see you want me now. Watch it now. I see, 1 million.
Puerto Rican.
No, it's just like changing the conversation so we are nurturing. You white,
that are in that vein of us.
This one forget about it. There we go, this
And teams moving forward.
I
told
You gotta tell us about your experience.
Russians versus Americans. Russians,
Oh, yeah,
the leader
we did
dies,
go to Florida.
they go up, they don't know what's going on. With us, our lowest guys can pick up the That's Eddie Murphy, who was a private promoter to take an over leadership got going. Because that's how we top down. So, but this is different. This is teacher, how you doing? This is different. Can we hear you say today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you have the capability to organize the I know you have the capability.
Yeah.
But I can't organize the better than.
I know, right?
I was gonna say, I'll just say, I'm just gonna do my best. We'll all work together and do our best.
You will.
I think that, that's why, just so that you're in, I'll make sure you're not on the unity. I did communicate with them that we were gonna have a meeting, or at least actually responded that the meeting got
So,
postponed
let
to
me say
and that,
this, so,
because I
that's
think
all what I'm
it's
working, so, a couple things.
but I
When
can't
the
do that
message
until
went
we
out,
have
so just tell everybody
more
today,
knowledge
about
where
the
things
thing
are.
that happened yesterday.
Especially-
Like,
And
every
I
day,
thought
with Facebook,
No, really, no big
make sure, give them opportunity to join us, so separate email went out.
Yeah.
Because I did talk with Ryan on
And
the
then
phone
also
one
the
time.
message that said, we
We
ended
have to
up,
get out of the
went
other-
on Facebook and said,
First,
is it
if we can get out.
okay?
The only reason I say it is old and young, they're on their phones.
Right. Well,
They will
also,
reply to a text if they see it a couple days
well, I
before.
asked, I said, what can we do to have a direct reply that sends the information? You know, and is the information, and all the list is provided, it's not all phone numbers on those lists, but the security piece where everybody has, has registered their phone number,
You should put a star.
we're gonna try to look at
On
that.
the, on the
But
conversation,
let me-
have a sign that says,
Let me work it through. Let
Right,
me
if
work
we
it
just
through.
step in and.
And what you said, I was just talking to me, I was looking at for something, cause to me, there should be one here and here, well, here, both sides. People are, they don't look right. We have a, so, it's.
everything is like a big one. It wasn't.
Well, I do it, okay, what about, so it's a balancing act.
I know exactly where you are.
But it's when everyone else is passionate, but maybe I need to say it like.
It is. Oh.
Congratulations.
I just saw.
That is, you have weather, you have weather this.
She's taking all of our.
I know what you're saying. I appreciate. Oh, listen. Works like not work with you guys. I'm already like this. I'm talking about stuff. It's okay with that. Yeah, make sure the board. I don't need to be.
Different personalities.
Oh, yeah.
Different.
We're making that
We can't make excuses for that, but that person should
It's very
recognize.
too much.
And we got, let's not forget, everybody has an advantage. I have a lot of flexibility, but even these couple weeks
She doesn't kind
know if they were the board officials.
Oh, 'cause I was about to say, they don't have a campground.
That's not they do, yeah.
About to call some friends, like, let me tell you what I found out.
Tonight was the night to get a lot of things on.
I'm making some calls now. Now, our payments to
I said the 3rd of January.
I have to wear.
The day after Christmas?
Good man.
Damn, okay.
I'm gonna move
I
around.
don't even, I don't really. I knew it was till January sometime. But you said it's right after Christmas.
Lydia, thank you.
That's right.
Pleasant evening.
Do you have keys? Here we go. You guys.
I didn't bring them.
Guys, have a good one.
You too.
Oh, hold on.
Oh.
That's not unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna sing some too.
Yeah, they have no.
Your number.
What was your number? What's the last four?
487?
There we go. The house. The couple.